Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Pigskin Project YouTube channel. I am Matt Hartman, and today Ben and I talk everything Sunday NFL Week 10, all 12 games, all the exciting finishes, all the crazy, moments that happened, and every game recapped in, at least a little bit of a way. Maybe not deep dive in every single game, but we talk about all the games. So if you enjoy that, the timestamps are down below to find the game that you want to watch, and hope you enjoy. We'd love the support, so continue to, show the support on these. There's football all the time on this channel. Tuesdays is when we talk about live college football. Wednesdays is when we do the live preview shows and talk about, some other little tidbits around the NFL. So if you enjoy that stuff, make sure to tune in. But let's get you into that video. Welcome in, everybody. As you heard in the intro, another week of NFL recap. Another pretty crazy weekend. Another
Yeah.
crazy Sunday. So many different mixed results. So many different crazy finishes. Um, but the most important part is my flu game. 11-2 this week, Ben. How about that? And
Uh,
one of them ended up being picking against my Saints. So I thought that was pretty ironic. But how you doing, buddy?
I am doing great. Again, like you said, another great week of football. Again, thank you everyone for all the support that these videos have been getting. I mean, it's really been astonishing. But we're ready to talk about some Sunday football here.
All right, let's roll. Let's roll. We're gonna start. How about we start from the literal top? The Falcons and the Colts. Colts win 31. Falcons 25. I mean, this is just one of those. It's the Jonathan Taylor show. It's the, it's the Jonathan Taylor kind of, dare I say, MVP moment, because I was looking at his odds in this one. Like he jumps up crazy in odds for this one after his 240-yard game with 3 touchdowns. He has the 83-yard touchdown to take the lead in the fourth quarter. Um, and he won. Like the Colts win this game despite Daniel Jones kind of like coming back, like Giants Daniel Jones, where there were so many times where I was like, "You're holding the ball too long, man. You're holding the ball way too long," and it made me laugh because it was like, you do know that is Daniel Jones, right? Like, but we're so accustomed to how he's played the last few weeks. But overall, to get a fun like little European game here.
Yeah, no, it was a fun game to kind of throw on in the background as I was getting ready this morning. Uh, I mean, it goes back to what we said like last week. Like, did the Steelers factory reset Daniel Jones? And it kind of seems like they might have. I mean, despite them winning this game, I mean, he took 7 sacks on the day. They kind of put out the blueprint of what it takes to at least pressure and stop a little bit of this Colts offense. There's only so much you can do when Jonathan Taylor's rushing for 244 yards. But I mean, they were able to get pressure on Daniel Jones, and like you could see it flustered him at times. Again, 7 sacks for like 59 yards. Everyone got in kind of on that total. Both of their rookies um, for the Falcons got in on that. That being said, man, Falcons won 3 games, and you're like, oh, it's all right. We could rebuild this. It's gonna be hard when you don't have a first round pick. Like that's that's I understand that like you needed to rebuild your pass rush and you were kind of able to see that today, but it's still going to be I think one of those moves that we're going to look back upon these last 2 drafts for them and being like, what in the world were the Falcons doing? But we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. But again, it was a fun game, and I think the big thing here is like, which Daniel Jones do we get now for the rest of the season? Do we get the Daniel Jones through the first 7 weeks of the season, or do we get the Daniel Jones that we saw through the last 2 weeks? It'll be interesting to see how the season plays out and what we get from that.
Yeah, they come into a bye here very soon, if I'm not mistaken, and the schedule after that bye. Uh, Not fun, but I think it's fun for the consumer because we're gonna learn how good the Colts are or not. Um, because you look at it, you're playing Jacksonville twice, you're playing Houston twice, and then Kansas City, Seattle, and San Francisco. So no more of the the Las Vegases or the Tennessees left on their schedule. So they got some big ones coming up to kind of learn how they do, and then it be malpractice on my part if we didn't mention Sauce Gardner in this one. Sauce Gardner guarded
Cook.
against Drake London. 17 matchups, 2 for 4 for 26 yards, but the 2 point conversion was the one that I think everybody's gonna remember, where Drake London just beat him on the speed out in the red zone, and it was just not even close. And then Sauce dropped the interception, which that was like just a perfectly played ball. Um, just interested to see how they continue to work him in. They were very determined to not put him in the slot, to not like
Yeah.
shadow London. So I'm interested to see how that goes. If that comes with time, because they'll get Ward back at some point, because he's on IR currently. But yeah, overall the Colts get another win. They're 8-2, which I believe is tied for the best record in all of football. So they get another one. Let's go to another team who is 8-2. The New England Patriots beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 28-23, much like uh, Jonathan Taylor, the Trevian Henderson game. All right, we finally got it, folks. We finally have, that one moment game from
Mhm.
him where he has he averages 10 yards a carry and has not one but two like 50-yard rushing touchdowns in which he just isn't touched along the edge. So I thought that was cool to see, like finally that moment and realizing what we believed he could be.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, I want to apologize to my dear baby boy Drake May for picking against him.
Yep.
I should have known better. I'll remember that in the future. But no, I do think the big takeaway from this is the Travion Henderson breakout game. Again, you drafted this guy for his speed, and that was really on display today. The second touchdown was really funny because if you go back and watch, you can kind of see him turn and look at the sideline and ask the coaches, like, do you want me
Yeah.
to score here or should I slide down and we could take the field goal? And he like kind of gave him like a thumbs up and then like right into the end zone. And it was a great clip. But on the flip side of this, like this goes back to the Baker Mayfield of it all. When Baker is doing his stuff, it can turn out very, very well. And we can look at it and we be like, this is the Baker magic that we kind of saw through the first 6 weeks of the season. And there were like 2 or 3 plays that really stood out to me where he was rolling out of the pocket and he's looking down the field and you're screaming at the television, you need to get rid of the football. You need to get rid of the football. But he's trying to buy time and it just doesn't work out and either gets sacked or, makes nothing of it. And again, when it's working and everything's clicking and that magic is there, it is really, really fun to watch. But when it's not working and you're holding onto the ball for too long, it really becomes a detriment to the offense. And it was it was one of those games where it was a detriment to the offense. In the first half of this game in general, though, it was I guess the entirety of the game. It was kind of just a stalemate. It seems like everyone was just living on their side of the 50. But
Yeah.
again, Henderson made the plays when it mattered the most, and here we are. The Patriots are kind of a little bit of a powerhouse, despite the roster construction not being up to par.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Bucks offense in this one is they just like they went cold for a major piece of this game, like 20-ish minutes after their first touchdown drive, the opening script.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't like, "Oh, we're getting a few first downs here and there and we get up to like the same way like Green Bay is." Green Bay gets right past the 50 and then it's like, "Oh man, it just sputters." They were having drives like 3 and outs like candy. And
Yeah.
so to see that happen, and then for New England, I mean, to just it's the day of the rookies. I mean, Kyle Williams walks on the field and has a 70-yard touchdown, and Trevian Henderson has two massive runs, and that's literally the difference in the game. May throws an interception in the red zone on one of their few red zone possessions. It doesn't even matter. They make the stand when they need to. Um, Again, it's just not where I thought New England would be,
No.
like just in November. And I mean, like, and it's cool to see him win like this, where it's like, I mean, I've gushed about the quarterback, and I can still from this one. I think he played a pretty fine, solid game, but he didn't hit that like monster explosive outside of the Mac Hollins one kind of late, which ends in a ends in an interception anyway. So like you don't even kind of think of that one in your head. Like to see them get a team win in this one, it's just impressive against a surefire playoff team. So like again, just adding to the resume that could New England actually do this? Maybe not. But the fact that we're discussing it is pretty impressive. And then also, I want to make note of it. They had New England had a .27 EPA per play rushing the football, which is 97th percentile. They had a 23% success rate, which is ninth percentile. So literally, like, it just the complete opposite sides of the spectrum. Better to be explosive and score touchdowns than efficient. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
It's not a sustaining way, but yeah, this rush offense, efficient down to down, is still a work in progress at best. Then we move on to the shock of the day. The Buffalo Bills are downed 30-13 by Miami. You see it down below. They didn't score until the fourth quarter. Again, this is just one of those. I like to call them Looney Tunes games. Like when James Cook fumbled in the Dolphins territory, when this game was still like relatively in reach, and like the way he fumbled it was just like he left the ground, he's flying in the air and just fumbles. And I'm like, all right, well, it's just one of those games for Buffalo. And I made jokes about it on the preview, or we talked about how it's like, well, they played their championship against Kansas City. They're going to overlook. This is the obvious college football spot where it's like we just beat the top, we just beat the top 5 team, and now we're facing unranked Boston College at home. Like we can overlook this, and that's what kind of happened here. I mean, I don't think Allen was particularly sharp downfield. When he needed to be, ironically, he really was in the fourth quarter. But
Yeah.
again, that's facing as soft coverage as you can get. But for the most part, I mean, Miami fought in this one.
Hey, the one-eyed Tua continues to look
lore.
good with the lore of it all. Well, and it was funny too because as everyone was waking up, Tom Pelissero reports out that like, oh, at the deadline, the Bills offered a first-round pick for Jalen Waddle, and then like immediately on that that first or second drive, it's like, bang, Jalen Waddle touchdown, burns your first-round pick, Maxwell Harrison. I mean, the whole reason you drafted the guy is to be able to keep up with guys like Jalen Waddle, and it hasn't turned out super well, but I digress. I think really the two big things to focus on in this game is the turnovers. Again, when you have 3 turnovers in the game, an interception and then a fumble by both Josh Allen and James Cook, you're already going to put yourself behind the 8 ball. And then it goes back to the other thing that we've been harping on this team about all year long is, man, this rush defense is awful. You continue to be like the worst, if not the second worst rush defense in the entire league. And it showed today. Devon Achane ran all over this team, 22 carries, 174 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And when they needed to, they were like, all right, we're just going to run the clock out. We're just going to turn the ball. We're going to catch the ball and turn around and hand to Devon Achane. That's exactly what they did, and they had pretty gosh darn good effects when they did that, because this defense, especially when we're talking about the rush, is just not up to par this year. And again, it's going to be fine when you're playing a team against the Kansas City Chiefs, which is crazy to say when, they don't have a rush offense of their own. But when you're playing a team that actually has a good running back, it's going to gash you. And again, that's kind of what we saw here today.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how they felt all season in
Yeah.
Buffalo, where outside of literally the Panthers game, that was the one where I thought I was getting ahead of the curve, and did not happen. But last thing on the just giving a shout out on Tua, like
Yeah.
I just I don't think this guy is not an NFL starter. I don't think he's one of the good ones, but who says that, like, if this guy puts himself in some like under center scheme, play action stuff, he can't succeed somewhere else if he were to be cut this offseason. Because like the interceptions are pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, but what
Yeah.
was it? That the first one was really bad. But the one down the throw down the field to Waddle to kind of like open this game up, like where it's like, oh whoa, that's just a great throw, man. And I think he's still got the deep ball downfield. It's just how they're operating is kind of operating in a way that he has to carry the offense in a sense, and he has to make the right decision every single time. And the guy's kind of sporadic, but
Yeah.
just giving my flowers to Tua, and because I do root for the player, but
Yeah.
last game before we'll take a little break into the next set of games, the Texans with a miraculous comeback against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know if you saw the ending to this one, Ben, but Liam Cohen was not happy. He so there was at one point, this was a 1 point game. They're driving down the field, and Lawrence just holds the ball too long. There's 7 seconds. They're trying to get, because also we have you know, we're all trying to see Cam Little kick a 70-yarder to win the game. Like that, I feel
Yeah.
like that was the forefront of everybody's mind when this is happening, and they suffer a penalty. Lawrence holds the ball too long, gets sack, fumble, intercept, and they showed Liam Cohen, everything on his person he threw off of him before he went and shook D'Amico's hand at midfield. But the lore of Davis Mills rides again.
Well, it's a game that you would want, considering that you have your backup quarterback in. Like, Daniil Hunter just took over this game. He had 3.5 sacks. So again, it's a game that you want your defense to show up, especially those star guys and your edge rushers. And then what does your backup quarterback do at this point? He gets the ball to the best player he has on offense, and that is Nico Collins. And it shows up in the stat sheet. He had, I don't know what his catches was, but he had just over 130 yards in this game. Again, he wasn't really the beneficiary of touchdowns, but he was kind of the engine that really ran this offense in terms of moving the ball down the field and hitting those big plays when it mattered the most. And for a second there, it was a little scary too, because early on in the game they kind of showed a shot of Woody Marks kind of just like walking off, and then out of nowhere like drops to the ground and like grabs his ankle, and you're like, whoa, what is going on? But then he comes back, and he still takes the lion's share of the carries there. But again, it was just kind of a collapse from the Jaguars in total when Davis Mills was able to figure out, like, I do have one of the elite wide receivers in the league, and maybe I should, throw him the football. When they were able to get that clicking, that's how you see the 26-0 in the fourth quarter for the Texans to come back.
Yeah, and I mean, also, this is kind of like one of those games where it's like karma finally comes around in the end,
Mm.
I guess. Like, what is it? 14 points were effectively created in the first half off of like what I'll call like flukiness, where you have the fumble on the kick return. That's an immediate red zone possession, which the Jacksonville Jaguars score on, and then they have the punt return, and maybe that's not fluky because it's our guy Parker Washington, but just overall to have those little moments like very quickly into the game, and it's just like, all right, we're up 17-0, just like that. It's one of those things, and I mean, you look at the drive log in the fourth quarter alone. 13 plays, 65 yards for the Texans, touchdown. 6 plays, 51 yards, touchdown. And then 14 plays, 93 yards to take the lead. Touchdown with the Davis Mills scramble out touchdown. Um, I'm on NFL Pro trying to see if I could get the what the pressure rate numbers were today, because like you said, I mean this defensive line, it just continues to just be dominant, man. It's so
Yeah.
good, and there was a world where this felt like a wasted season at 0-3 early in the season, but like with the way the AFC is shaken up this year, how many times can we say like the NFC is definitively top to bottom better than the AFC? And it feels like it this year where it's I'm not going to count out Houston. So very interested to see how this continues on. Um, these two teams have now played twice. Houston gets Tennessee up next, and then they get Buffalo on Thursday Night Football. So they have some to look ahead for, and maybe the end of the month, they're sitting at a 6-6 with an opportunity to get in. Who knows? But uh, anything on this one before we take a little short break?
No.
All right, all right, and then we get into the break, and when we come back, we'll talk some NFC. And we are back, everybody. Let's continue on marching on to the Minnesota Vikings and Baltimore Ravens game. The Ravens win 27, Vikings 19. Again, for Baltimore, I think this is exactly, imagined how you would want it to feel. They took too many field goals in this one. I think they had a very hard time finishing drives. Um, Felt like they thought the cheat code to this one was just being able to give the ball to Henry and they would get in the end zone, and didn't really work out that way. But when they needed to find a touchdown drive late in this one to kind of put it away, they did. As for the Vikings, another performance that you just remember that McCarthy is in his first season. Like I don't know other than that. Like I don't know how to. I'm just glad he's playing now,
Yeah.
because this is better than Wentz. The highs are really good, but the lows are still very very noticeable.
Absolutely. Again, I think you said it the best. Like the kid just needs to learn to take, I think, what is given to him at times. Like
Hmm.
he's all the time 9 9 9 9 9. That's kind of what he's pushing. He's like, I'm a different person when I'm 9, and 9 wants to just chuck the football down the field. Um, and I think the first interception in this game kind of can summarize it the best for him. He could have very simply have just tucked the ball, ran and picked up the first down, and slid and would have been fine. But he is out there. He's a rookie, still trying to adjust to kind of the speed of play and what to do and the processing of it all. And instead of just taking what was given to him in that first down where he could have scrambled out, he decided to chuck it up into double coverage, which you hope as he plays in more football games and he adjusts the speed a little bit more, he can kind of recognize to like, I'm just going to take the first down. We're going to try to keep this drive alive a little bit better. And then on the flip side of this, really the big thing that stood out for me with the Ravens was actually their most recent addition that they made at the trade deadline. He didn't end up actually recording a sack, but it seems like every other drive I was looking up and Draymond Jones was bearing down on JJ McCarthy. And again, it goes back to what we had said when they made that trade in the first place. They just needed a guy that could pin his ears back and rush the passer. Again, he didn't record like an actual like official sack or stat or anything. I don't know what his pressure numbers looked like, but I would have to imagine it was a lot because he seemed like he had a very, very big impact in this game, despite not actually recording any stat. But again, we'll see if the offensive struggles in the red zone continue with the Ravens, because that was something we even said last week or 2 weeks ago in that Bears game where they just were not able to kind of convert. So I'm again interested to see the long term play out on how that is.
Yeah, yeah. And then little tidbits before we move on. Derrick Henry finally passed his own high school rushing yardage total. I thought that was funny that they brought that up on the broadcast. That made me chuckle. Lamar Jackson threw a quick pass, which is under 2.5 seconds. So you think about time to throw and how getting the ball out on 65% of his attempts in this one. So he was, I'm not doing nothing with the with the Flores kind of pressure packages. Like I'm getting the ball out if I see something I like, I'm getting it out. And then finally, the Vikings had 8 false starts, which
Mm.
is the most by a single team in a single game uh, since 2011. So you just think about that again. Like there were some fumbles against the fumbles on the exchange against the Lions with McCarthy, and now you're having 8 false starts. I just like the operation of it all is just not pristine enough, and it's just not at a place that I mean any of us can feel good about it right now. So I'm just again interested to see how this continues to roll for them. It doesn't get much easier, if I'm not mistaken. So, you think about like they get Chicago and then at Green Bay and then at Seattle are their next 3 before they get Washington at home. So I think you're targeting that Washington team at home to be kind of a get right performance, but you still got 3 good performances in front of you. Um, I know they've beaten the Bears, but 2 teams who have gone in pretty different directions already
Mm-hmm.
since week 1 of this season. So intrigued to see how that one plays out next week, but continues to just be a slog for the Vikings this season after 14 wins last season. And then we get into those said Bears, 24-20 against the New York Giants. Uh, Sometimes games come down to a play. I mean, it could be in the second quarter, it could be in the third quarter, it could be. There are so many times we can point to a football game and say that's the reason we won or lost. And for the Giants, it is when Jackson Dart fumbles the football in plus territory, up by 10 in the third quarter, and then he gets concussed and is ruled out for the game. And from that point on, it was all Chicago Bears. Um, I thought, and then speaking, because I mean, we got to talk about the quarterbacks in this one. I thought both quarterbacks were really good in this one. I thought
Yeah.
Caleb, the way he was able to just the way he was able to avoid his sack avoidance, man. It's the fact that the guy can avoid sacks the way that he does. He was sacked 0 times in this one. I can get the pressure numbers when I swing it to you, but he gets sacked 0 times, and he has the elastic arm that he's able to just whip the ball downfield. There were multiple times where he's thrown like he might have the most powerful arm in the entire football league, just from a velocity standpoint. Maybe not, as far as I can throw it, because that's Joe Milton, but just a velocity, on the move, the way that he whips the ball is just so incredibly impressive, and I love it. Um, and then for Dart, I thought this was the best drop back game Dart played in his career. Just the way they were layering concepts together. They were doing a lot of under center stuff with it, being kind of chilly outside, and you have the flurries. But just overall, I thought he was pretty impressive. He worked on time. He did some real NFL things for the first time in a while. But in the end, like the Dable battering ram offense comes back to bite you. Where I just don't see the reason to be running him so damn much. But it's just one of those moments.
Yes. No, to be fully transparent, didn't watch a whole lot of this game. Um, the bit that I did watch was actually, it's funny that we transition off of that. Again, the explosion of Jackson Dart that he can offer with his legs continues to be, I think, the best piece that this offense does offer. I do think Dable needs to be a little bit more choice with how he goes about it. Because again, it seems like over the last 4 or 5 games, he has taken a hit where you're like, I don't know. He could have gotten hit or he could have gotten hurt there. Like, is he concussed? And then, again, over time, those hits take a toll on you to the point where something like today happens. But I do think his legs continue to be uh, probably the biggest threat of anything on this offense. And then on the flip side of this is the first game for, again, a couple games that we were able to see Rome Odunze actually be involved and make a big impact. And it's good to see that connection is kind of bouncing back into form because the last like 3 games, he has not broken over like 20 yards. And you're just like, what is going on here? This is not good. But that connection is finally finding its way back to what it was early in the season.
Yeah, and then I mean, this was a fun, like Caleb Williams led his 4th comeback drive, or game-winning drive of the season, which at week 10 that ties the franchise record for in a season with 4. So I understand the reason why Chicago is really buzzing about this player and buzzing about what he can do. I think the offense has been. This was the first time that the offensive play calling I was really in question of, to be honest, with just how they were launching the ball down the field, and trying to just like churn out rushing yards in this one, where like 38% success rate, not amazing, but kind of middle of the pack. But just overall, I mean, you win the game how you win the game. You don't complain about it afterwards, and I'm really excited to see the stretch coming up for Chicago, because they got some good ones coming up. They still get we talked about the Minnesota game. They still get Green Bay twice. They still get Detroit again. They get Philly. So again, this is one of the teams that has one of the easiest strength of schedules through 9 weeks already, but they're 6-3. So you don't get upset about 6-3 on any schedule. But I think we all get to learn about Chicago more and more as the season goes along. Then we move on to the later window to hit on these NFC games pretty quickly. The Seahawks just crush the Cardinals. The 44-22 doesn't tell you the whole story. 38-7 at halftime. You mentioned it. Sam Darnold threw the ball 12 times?
12 times.
I mean, and he has the JSN downfield touchdown early in this one. This is just a unit, man. This is a really, really good football team, with just what they're able to do. DeMarcus Lawrence, hopefully somebody had 2+ touchdowns DeMarcus Lawrence today, because you would have cashed, which is just hilarious. But just, I mean, the rate at which this front 4 wins, like, and today they blitzed. They actually like blitzed today,
Yeah.
which was like kind of funny, where it was like they sent something with Brissett in this one, and they ripped him apart.
Yeah, I mean that was a big thing. They didn't have to worry. I mean, for all the conversation that we've had about Kyler versus Jacoby Brissett and who's the better quarterback and whatnot, and who should be operating this team down the stretch. That's one thing that you don't get with Jacoby Brissett is that scrambling ability. And again, the Seahawks kind of honed in on that, and they said, well, we don't have to worry about you making plays with your legs. We're just gonna send the extra guy. And again, it paid huge, huge, huge dividends for them. And you touched on kind of the big thing that I wanted to. It's almost shocking. You see the Seahawks put up, 44 points, and then you check the box score and you see, well, yeah, Sam Darnold only threw 12 passes, but that's because they were up by so much going into the second half that they pretty much the majority of the entire second half literally just got to hand it off to whatever running back was back there, whether that was Charbonnet, whether that was Ken Walker, and then I'm going to butcher his last name, so I'm not going to say it. The third string running back, George. Again, I apologize for not knowing your last name there. But again, they were just kind of able to just chew out the clock. They said, we know we have this in the bag. Our defense is going to do what they need to do. We have this big lead. why push stuff down the field? Why put Sam Darnold in a situation where he can get hit? Why put Sam Darnold in a situation where he can turn over the football when we have this big of a lead and we can just run out the clock with our running backs? That's exactly what happened. And man, come late December, January, the Seahawks are going to be a team that I do not want to face up against because again, this defense is just clicking on all cylinders, and it continues to be fun to see what McDonald is able to throw out there each week in terms of defensive game planning because it is so different each and every week, but it is so good each and every week.
Yeah, the only thing I have of like criticism with the Seahawks is like Darnold, hold on to the damn football, brother. What was it?
Yeah.
He had like a fumble on an exchange right after they got like a fourth down stop like on goal to go, and then Cardinals immediately scored right after that, and then he had like a sack fumble later in this one, um, and like the interception was kind of like where he just kind of lobbed it downfield, see if he can make a play.
Yeah.
But just overall, yeah, Seattle is just one of those teams that, ironically, and I have no, if you were to make like a, hey, like a Super Bowl tier list, like I think this is probably one of the top five teams to put on there, just in terms of winning it. Just because of the way the defense plays, and then I want to give a quick shout out. He left. I don't know if he returned. Um, Nick Eamon has been phenomenal, and what he's been able to bring as like the modern day star backer in the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
because like they they deploy him like Hamilton's being deployed this season, where he is playing the star and basically matches every look that the offense wants to be in with nickel, and so he can man up on anybody. He can man up on receivers. He can man up on tight ends, and he just flies around the football field. And another game where he's just so noticeable. And maybe it's because he's wearing the single digit three, but just this is what I imagined him to be good at, was being close to the line of scrimmage and just fly around the football field, and where I think I spent too much time thinking of him as a prototypical free safety, which
Mm-hmm.
he goes to the perfect situation here with one of the perfect defensive minds, and he's been deployed perfectly, and he's really knocking my grade on him in the offseason down the. And then, yeah,
Yeah, no, well, that's in terms of Nicky Minwar specifically. I mean, that's what we said when he got drafted to the Seahawks. There was no better situation for him to step into because of Mike McDonald. Because again, he was the archetype to kind of, or the architect to kind of put together the Kyle Hamilton of it all. And that's the same kind of prototype that you saw in Kyle Hamilton with Nicky Minwari. And you're like, well, he was able to get it working with him. Let's see if we can get it working with Imanwari, and it's worked out in spades.
yeah, it's one of those things where I want to see it. I experiment it with like, because I think about it from the Saints' point of view, like experiment it with like Jonas Anchor, because that was something
Yeah,
that I liked him out of Virginia, where he was a run and hit guy, and he's been pretty solid down the field. So maybe I'm just thinking too hard about it, but all it does is make me want Caleb Downs even more, to be honest with you. But yeah, we move on to the other blowouts of the. Also, just to make mention, there was a time where this was like the combined score of the three late games was like 80-3. So I thought that was funny to mention. But we move on to the Lions. They also win 44-22, ironically enough. Dan Campbell called plays. That was something we learned midway through the game. And I'm going to look at their drive log. I was watching this one. I don't think they got stopped once. I think they've scored points on literally every drive that they had today, which hard to do. Hard to do, but they did it today. Amon-Ra St. Brown got punched by Deron Payne. He got ejected. But yeah, every drive outside of the final drive in which you're in kneel down mode, they scored points on. So the Detroit Lions have one of their banner offensive games.
Yeah, I mean, you had talked about it with the Vikings offense, and you're like, it's just undisciplined. And that's like what it had felt like the entire game with the Commanders defense. Like they were fighting with each other, like between snaps, they were screaming, they were trash talking, they were punching players. It just, they did not have, anything going for them, and the chemistry just seemed shot. Um, and that just allowed everyone on the on the Lions offense to benefit from it. But it does help when Jahmyr Gibbs can basically account for half of your total points in this game. He put up 3 touchdowns in his own right, which is fantastic to see. But again, when you have this undisciplined defense going up against kind of the firepower that the Lions offense has, it was never going to be a game to begin with. So,
Yeah, I just want to make mention of the Lions offense. This marked Detroit's seventh game with 40 plus points and 500 plus total yards since hiring Dan Campbell in 2021. So seventh game. No other team in that span has more than 4 such games. So it's again just being able to tap into this. This was the perfect spot for them. Like this is a really, really reeling Washington team. I and again, like it shows in behavior, stuff like that, where it's like, man, these guys did not expect to be here. They did not expect to be 3-6, and now 3-7, and they just feel completely outmatched against Detroit, a team in which they beat in January last year, and their quarterback's hurt, and everybody just seems to be dropping like flies, and it's another season where you're kind of going to be reassessing everything about it. But Lions get another win, 6-3 in the conference. Again, the NFC North continues to be this very uber tight race, but Lions get another one. And then we move on to the NFC West, the final one. The Rams win 42-26 against the 49ers. The Stafford the Stafford to Devontae thing is just as good as I had hoped, truly, because like I love that they're what the biggest McVay like gripe with his offenses have been like finishing in the red zone. They just don't finish drives, and they would always try and run Kyron through the tackles, and that's how they would score. Well, this offseason their plan was, hey, let's just bring in the best red zone receiver in football, and hopefully that figures it out, and it did. Like I think they said on the broadcast, he's got 9 touchdowns this year. All of them are within the 5 yard line. So again, you just like make notice of that and how good he's been. But yeah, this was just the Mac Jones didn't play bad. It was just Stafford is on a whole different level. And if you wanted me to sit here and say who's the MVP, I would probably say Matt Stafford.
well, that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, I think that's a conversation we need to have. Like, who is the MVP thus far through the season?
Mm-hmm.
And why is your answer Matt Stafford? Again, this dude, he still has everything that we gushed over him 5, 6, 7 years ago now at this point. And it continues to just be a force. It took him a little bit to get here and kind of figure out that red zone stuff the early part of the season, but now they've done it. It's again, it's just going to be another one of those NFC teams that we're just like, woof. And it's gonna be a fun battle to see who wins this division down the stretch of the season too, because two of the best 5 teams, arguably in the entire NFL, are both coming out of this division. I think it's gonna go a long way, and I can't wait to see these 2 teams face up against each other. But then again, on the flip side of that too, the Niners again. Mac Jones, you said I can't say he didn't play bad. I mean, Mac Jones played well. He did have an interception in this game, but he was like super efficient. But when your defense is as hurt as it is right now, you're going to struggle winning a game regardless of how your quarterback plays. And again, I think this is just going to be the same old story that we're going to be telling ourselves for the rest of the season with the 49ers.
Yeah, just don't have enough horses, kind of feel.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Um, but just this renaissance of the Rams offense, where they're running 13 personnel, at a 45% clip today. That's the second highest rate in a game since 2016, and it is a 3-game streak for the Rams of running it at a 38%. And you just think about like they were able to have a 60% rushing success rate along with an overall 63% in wide range. And so just it's helping their run game. The pass game is completely fine because Stafford likes doing those concepts, and they've just been phenomenal all season. It's a crazy, flip of switch where McVay comes in 2017 and he's immediately in these 3 receiver looks, 11 personnel. We have Todd, they have Todd Gurley. So every time we're just going to have the same look, so you never know how to, you know, you never know what to plan for in a sense. And now they're just like really at you with the 13 personnel and I mean it's been pretty phenomenal how awesome they've been. And then last, but we get Rams Seahawks next week. So that one is going to be something. Could that be for the NFC 1 seed and the losers kind of sitting there in the wild card? I has one of those loser leave town matches. The vibe of that, but they'll still play again. So again, they could obviously split, and none of what I said will matter. But still, pretty interesting to have one of those games this week. And then we get into 2 lower level games before hitting Sunday Night Football. The Jets get another victory over the Cleveland Browns. Helps when you get 2 return touchdowns, right, Ben? And that is what the Jets had today. And someone made a joke about Dylan Gabriel in this one where it was like the Browns literally took Brownie the Elf from midfield and made him a quarterback. I mean, there's not much I need to say about the quarterbacking in this game,
No.
but hey, the Jets win the game, and I thought like what was it the Jets they had 42 total net passing yards. So again, just on
Yes.
brand, but they score 27 points. They win the football game, and Brees had a great game. Brees was really good, and so I think there was a lot of speculation on if I don't want to say Brees would quit, but in a sense, would he play as many snaps? Would he play as hard? And I thought he was really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I mean, you basically took everything I wanted to say out of my mouth here. Um, the Jets win this game, putting up 27 points, despite the fact that they had under 200 yards of scrimmage on the offensive side of the football. I think it comes down to the fact that it's a 3-phase game: special teams, offense, and defense. And the Jets had the best phase with having, I think it was a kick return taken back, and then immediately after, the very next time the Browns kick a ball, they return it back for a punt. And again, that kind of is really all you needed at that point. It's half your yards, and then you just need to turn around and give it to Brees, as you said. And here we are. It was the most Jets thing possible for them to win this game, despite the fact that they were, major sellers at the deadline. I have a couple really close friends that are Jets fans. I will say the Jets continue to get lucky because, as we are talking about in terms of the offense, they desperately need a quarterback, but it just seems every single time the Jets are able to win, the 2 other teams that are going to be in bidding for the quarterback, and the Saints and Dolphins, turn around and win the same week that they win. So they continue to get lucky in that fact. And the chances of that have to be like 1 in a trillion at this point. But again, good on the Jets. We're kind of seeing it a little bit when we had talked with Aaron Glenn and the Dan Campbell of it all. Like, we know this year's going to suck. This year's all about building the culture, getting the right guys in the building that can kind of get behind this. And we're seeing a little bit of it falling into form. I'm not completely there. I don't think Aaron Glenn is completely out of the doghouse. We still will probably have that conversation come end of season. But again, we're seeing a little bit of that fall in place a little bit more as the season goes on.
I think he at least gets this off season. I'll say that
Yeah.
because I don't think they would sign off together, him and the GM Darren Moogie, on trading those 2 players in Sauce and Quinnen without having enough security. It's the
Yeah.
same way that like I watch Cleveland operate, and the way Cleveland didn't operate in this vacuum of like, oh man, we got to win games. They're kind of operating in a sense where like we have the time to do it. We have the time to kind of keep retooling this. And so I do think that this season, for the most part, he'll get the off season. But hitting on this game one last time, Will McDonald was awesome. 4 sacks, and he had 9 pressures. So that was pretty crazy. Again, do I mean, it's been a while. This is almost perfect timing, Ben, because I think I would love to see Shador play some football. I would love to see, because
Well,
what's the worst thing that happens? He loses football games.
yeah, exactly. Well, and it's funny too because this is the first game of the Tommy Reese offensive, play calling. Everyone's like, "Oh, let's see if it changes it up." Well, the play calling wasn't really ever the the
They just don't have
issue. I
horses. They
don't
don't have the
think
horses.
exactly. They just don't have anyone. I mean, when Jerry Judy's your number, and this is no shot at Jerry Judy, but when Jerry Judy and Harold Fannin are kind of your two best pieces on offense, it doesn't really matter who's calling the plays for you. It's never going to work out. And again, I'm interested to see how the offenses change when they inevitably go to Shadur Sanders, to see if it makes somewhat of a difference. But I really don't think that'll even make a change because again, they just don't have the guys for it.
The Jets ended with an 18% passing success rate, which is 0 percentile. They won the football game.
Hey, again, three-phase game. Don't forget about the special teams.
Oh my goodness, that's just nuts, man. We spent way too much time on that one. But
Uh,
then we move on to another one-win team winning. The Saints beat the Panthers 17 to 7. Yeah, we're talking about a good rookie quarterback here. I thought Tyler Shuck was really good in this one, man.
uh,
Just the way what he was able to do in play extension, was not something that I could ever like was ever bullish on him doing. Was having play extension. He had one really early in this game,
yeah.
and both touchdowns, ironically enough, were effectively created on J.C. Horn falling down. Like he had a one-on-one down the right sideline to Olave, in which J.C. Horn falls down, and then it's a 60-yard touchdown, puts it on the money, and they score. And then later in this game, I think the fourth quarter, Juwan Johnson gets mad. Which also Juwan Johnson, hell yeah, man. There was some Saints fans who were not happy with Juwan Johnson the last few weeks. He was awesome in this one. He had a huge like touchdown, like a 20-ish yard touchdown, in which he's matched up on J.C. Horn, and J.C. Horn once again falls down. And yeah, I mean what they were able to do in the run game, a lot of leaning on Kamara. He had 25 touches, which I don't know the last time that happened, but it made me think of the Cleveland game a few years ago. I remember that like record
Yeah.
cold that the NFL had, and so like everybody was just running the ball like a million times. Like Kamara, that was the last time that I feel like everything in the offense was programmed around him, and yeah, I thought he was pretty solid in this one. And the big thing for Shuck is just didn't turn the ball over. There was a weird like there's a weird like or like missed field goal, something like that with Carolina where they missed it, but it went
Mm.
past the line of scrimmage, and so Carolina recovered it, which means that they get the ball back. So they missed a field goal and then got the ball back, and it was like, if you ever want to learn about the NFL textbook, just watch a Saints game because something's gonna happen. But
Yes.
it ended up
Uh,
not mattering, and yeah, I mean the Saints get a victory, and the best part about it is I can't sit here and be Mister like I can't believe we won. This is so bad for the Tankathon. They're still second because everybody like the Jets also won, and what is it? Miami also won. So like silly teams also won, so you don't really lose ground on the race to get like the number one pick.
yeah, absolutely. As far as Juwan Johnson goes, it helps when he has a report when it's his college quarterback throwing it to him. It's still just one of the, one of the craziest things ever, considering that Tyler Shuck is a rookie and him and Juwan Johnson, played at Oregon together. But that's besides the point. Like it just this offense for the Panthers just continues to be awful. They were not able to get anything going through the air like at all. They had opened up the game, scoring on their first drive with Rico Dowdle, and I'm like, all right, it's going to be another one of those Rico Dowdle games. But the Saints defense just in total today was really able. I'm shocked they
The
were able to
Saints
shut
rush
down.
defense is really good, man. Like I like that
Figured that
Bears
out
game
last
is
week.
yeah, that Bears game is a weird fluke that I'm like stunned that that happened at this point. Like their run defense is actually really good. Like we stopped Rico Dowdle. Think about that.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. The Saints defense was able to kind of stop Rico Dowdle, which forced Bryce Young to throw the football. And
Yeah.
he was whenever you can force Bryce Young to throw the football, you're celebrating just as Matt did there. It was a very, very bad game through the air and just offense. I mean, as a whole for them, as you can tell with the 7 points, not being able to literally get anything done outside of that first drive to open up the game. So good on the Saints. We're able to get a win. Good for the program.
Good for the program. I love it. Again, this was also something I did mention last week when we talked about it. Um, I wanted the offense to feel different because if you're putting in a different quarterback, I want it to feel different. And against the Rams, because they were down so quickly, the only drive that worked essentially was the 2-minute drill.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck can run a mean 2-minute drill, and everything was in the gun. Everything was within 10 yards. This one, there was a lot more of that under center stuff. There was a lot more of, downfield hard play action. It was leaning off the run game. So, again, for it to feel different with a different quarterback, that made me excited for
What
the
you want to
last few
see?
games of the season. And,
Yeah.
he's going to get every opportunity. I'm talking about Shuck to win this job and say, he is competing with the fourth overall pick at this point. And hey, that wouldn't be the worst thing, man. I'm this team is missing difference makers, and any top 10 pick is going to be a difference maker. Whether that's a receiver to put next to Olave, whether that's an edge rusher to put next to Chase Young, or whether that is, I Caleb Downs is the one guy that I'm just like I'm infatuated with. I would love to see him as like this chess piece along this defense with what Staley does. I would love to see it, but we'll
Buddy,
see if it
you're gonna
happens.
get an Ohio State defender. Get ready to learn April Reese's name. Get
Hey,
ready for it. Top five
Arvo
buzz.
Arvo Reese would not be the worst thing.
Yes, it would.
He's
Yes,
be,
it
he's
would.
he's been pretty phenomenal this year in college, but overall, I'd be interested to see how he's deployed in the NFL.
Yes, yes.
Because he's similar to that Jalen Walker. Like, is he an edge rusher? Is he a linebacker? I don't know, but that was draft talk. And then we get into the final game, Sunday Night Football. It deserved, as
Woof.
it did in real life, it went on last. It deserves to go on last in this one. Swing and a miss, y'all. Um, I mean, you catch up to what Rodgers can do. Something like Rodgers still has these games in him. So I think it again, much like Buffalo, like where it's like, hey, we kind of stonewalled Indianapolis. Now we get a week of that film, and we can still do this against a good Chargers team.
Yes. Well, again, it does come down to the Rodgers. I will say the second interception that he threw was not his fault. It hit like square off his wide receiver's hands right into the safety or whoever the curl defender was at that point. But again, it was the first interception was awful. Just absolutely sailed him, and then the safety. Not that it ended up like having a major impact on the game, but the safety hurt as well. And then the third down offense, it was just they could not get anything done. They couldn't keep plays a lot or
Did they
drives.
get one?
They had two. They went 2 of
Okay.
11. So congratulations, you were
There
able
was a
to
point
pick
at
one
which I
up.
think they were like 0 for 8.
Yeah, there was a point, yeah, where they were 0 for 8, and it was it was a really, really rough watch. And again, it was funny. I went into this game picking the Steelers because I'm like, they're going to be able to get pressure on the quarterback the same way they did with the Colts. Jokes on me, they were, but Justin Herbert's used to it at this point. It's nothing new for him. Whether it's a good team or a bad team, he's used to edge rushers just swarming him, and it doesn't phase him. There were so many times like in this game where like if it was any other quarterback, I would have been like, oh, they're gonna get antsy, they're gonna make a bad throw, they're not gonna be able to stand in the pocket and take it. And it's not quite the reason you would hope that he's used to it, but he's so used to it because it's happened so in the early parts of his that the pressure that defensive lines bring to him doesn't really face him at this point, and he's able to kind of just stand tall in the pocket and hit those throws when it matters. And again, this game showed it. So his offensive line was able to take away the pass rush because every game he plays has pass rush. So good for Justin Herbert.
Dude, it sucks. Like I want to get excited about this team, and maybe I should just
You
throw caution
should
to the
please
wind
join me again.
with the because like I do think Herbert is one of those guys that we could put him in January, and
Yeah,
he could just level up, and it wouldn't matter with the cast around him, and they made mention of it. Like the receivers are still healthy, the receivers are still good. Like I know
mm-hmm.
Gadsden leaves the game, and yeah, Rondé Gadsden is like a major piece of fixture of this offense now, but he kind of left the game. But just for the most part, like being able to have McConkey have his explosive when he has it. Um, and just
Both of
I
them.
mean it was kind of a slog to get to 25 points, but they
Yeah,
get to it. You know, they just create enough downfield and win the game that way. And the defense is just going to continue to be pretty good, just because they have pretty good players on that side of the ball. So
yep.
interested to see how they continue to if they continue to get healthy as healthy as they can get, because they're not gonna obviously their tackles aren't gonna come back, but Marion
Yeah.
Hampton can come back. But for the most part, like outside of that, like they're pretty healthy. Just the front five has been really rough this season. But that's all the games this week, unless I'm missing one, which I don't think I am. Um,
Nope.
pretty fun week once again in the NFL. Obviously, we have Green Bay and Philadelphia tomorrow. Again, another piece of that, that NFC kind of, look.
The puzzle.
The,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, another just major NFC game that we got to keep an eye on. Um, I heard somewhere that no, okay, yeah, I was okay. I was making sure. I didn't think so. I thought it was like if Green Bay lost, the Bears would be in first place in the North,
No.
but the Lions have the tiebreaker at
Yeah.
6-3. So, yeah, but the NFC is just a war, man. It's just a war,
It's a
and
bloodbath.
yeah,
Well, and think about it. Like over the past 5-10 years, how many times can you say that like the NFC is clearly the better conference over the AFC? Not many, but this
yeah,
again, it's just been one of those really just weird, bizarro seasons where teams are playing great and you can beat the Chiefs and then turn around and lose lose to the Dolphins, and it just again a very bizarro season, but it has been um, one of the more fun and engaging seasons that we've had in a very long time, with a lot more parity than what we've been used to.
absolutely, absolutely, and also in college football, we didn't have to talk about someone getting fired this week. There's been
I
like a
know.
a Sunday tradition of high profile names getting fired in coaching. Um,
Yes.
but yeah,
No
that's
shortage
all.
though. No, no shortage of college talk though. If you guys want to hear it, there'll be some shakeup to the AP poll, or well, it's not the AP poll we're worried about now. It's a college poll that we're worried about now. There'll be some shakeup. No shortage of talk there. So Tuesdays, make sure you guys tune in. Didn't mean to cut you off there, but tune into that.
I can't stop thinking about Duke, Ben. I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop thinking about
There's
how
a
they're gonna.
real chance that the ACC doesn't have a team in the playoffs. Like that is we'll get into it, but like there's a very real chance that like Duke wins the conference, and your 5 conference that gets in is going to be the Big 12. It's going to be everyone. It's going to be your Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, and then your Sun Belt and the American. Like if Duke ends up winning this conference, there's a very, very real chance that no one from the ACC makes it. But again, that is something we will get into on Tuesday.
Yep, that is all for the Sunday NFL Week 10 recap show. Thank you for watching. And again, as Ben mentioned on the top, thank you for all of the support lately. It means a ton. We're always doing NFL, we're always doing football over here. So
Yeah.
if you enjoy the football, continue to stop by, and that would be much, much appreciated. But that is all for the episode. See you in the next one.